when you work hard, you have the most chances to survive here. When you do everything to win, when you put everything aside, life gives you a good victory.
Who knows anything anymore? Who deserves what? The way I see it is none of us deserve a thing. You have to work for everything you got.
Dominick, the Dominator, Cruz, Marlon Vera.
Marlon Vera versus Dominick Cruz, the Ultimate Fight Breakdown. On August 13th, a crucial matchup in the bantamweight division will take place. A legend of mixed martial arts, former UFC bantamweight champion Dominick the Dominator Cruz takes on Ecuadorian prospect Marlon Cheeto Vera in the main event. The winner of this matchup gets very close to a title shot, which we would say they would at least be in a title eliminator in their next bout, so this is a big fight for both men. Cheeto's biggest ever fight and a chance for Cruz to get closer to what was once his, the bantamweight title. This is definitely a matchup to look forward to, so without further ado, we here at Athlete Central are here to tell you everything you need to know about it in this Ultimate Fight Breakdown. Recent fights. Let's start off with Vera first, whose 3-fight winning streak started back in 2021 against British prospect Davy Grant. The first round was definitely Grant as Davy outstruck him and landed the more impactful shots.
Marlon's had 13. So both guys.
The second round, it was the other way around. Despite more grappling in the round, Vera managed to land more strikes and got the second round. The third round was a complete domination for Cheeto as he managed to land a takedown and have almost 4 minutes of control time, attempting 3 submissions in the meantime in a round, which 2 judges scored a 10-8 for him. Marlon ended up taking home a unanimous decision win.
Marlon Cheeto Vera.
His next fight was the biggest fight in his career up to that point against UFC legend Frankie Edgar. The first round was poor for Vera as Edgar managed to land a takedown and got control time of over 3 minutes, landing a significant amount of ground and pound. The second round was a lot more competitive and really anyone's round for the taking. The third round was also competitive, but Vera eventually landed a front kick that will be a highlight reel for the ages.
To look at monitors.
Edgar's face was so messed up that it has remained on the internet as a meme to this day. His last fight was a main event against Rob Font, a fight that really impressed a lot of people. Now, while Font outstruck Vera in almost every single round, Cheeto was landing the more powerful shots without a doubt. The first round went to Font, but even though Rob landed more strikes in rounds 2, 3, and 4, Vera scored a knockdown in each of those rounds, which combined with a good showing in the 5th round, gave the Ecuadorian a unanimous decision victory. Let's move on to Dominick Cruz, who made a comeback in 2020 against Henry Cejudo for the bantamweight title after 4 years away from MMA because of injuries. The first round was pretty competitive, with the fighters going toe-to-toe on the strikes.
Those are nasty leg kicks.
But the second round was a different story. Cejudo was outstriking Cruz and at the end of the round managed to land a barrage of punches that started off with a nice knee. Triple C followed up with punches to a downed Cruz and eventually referee Keith Peterson stepped in to stop the fight. The stoppage was disputed by a lot of people, but to be fair, Cejudo did land a lot of unanswered punches on Cruz. His next fight was against Case Kenny in 2021, where Cruz attempted to bounce back from his defeat. This was one of the lowest profile fights in Dom's career and could be considered a bounce-back fight against someone like Kenny, who did not have a big reputation at 135 pounds. Cruz managed to outstrike Casey throughout the duration of the fight but struggled to implement his wrestling early on. Casey defended 5 takedown attempts, but Cruz still managed to best him on the feet. In the third round, Dom actually had some grappling success, getting over 2 minutes of control time and also landing more strikes than Kenny. The Dominator then faced Pedro Munoz in an incredible back-and-forth fight. In the first round, despite Dom doing well in the stand-up, Munoz managed to land a powerful shot that knocked him down.
Honestly, I thought I slipped, so I guess that tells you where I was at.
After the fight, Cruz admitted that he does not remember those moments from the fight. With that poor first round under his belt, Cruz bounced back in the second and managed to be way more active. He touched Munoz up and managed to show impressive striking. He continued in the same vein in the third round to mark a major comeback and be victorious. Attributes. These fighters are at very different stages in their careers. On one hand, we have Cruz, who is 37, a former UFC bantamweight champion and arguably the best of all time at 135 pounds. And then on the other hand, there's Chito Vera, who has only recently entered the top ranks of bantamweight and is yet to enter his prime at 29 years of age. In terms of anthropometry, the fighters are pretty similar. They are both 5'8", but Vera has a 2-inch reach advantage, 70 inches compared to the Dominator's 68. Striking. Both fighters are pretty well balanced, so let's see what the story stats will tell. In terms of volume, Vera has a moderate advantage, landing 4.33 significant strikes per minute compared to the 3.82 that Cruz lands. The American does spend more time wrestling though, which may be the reason behind his lesser output. Chito does surpass him in the accuracy too though, landing his strikes at a 51% clip, which is a lot higher than the 33% that Cruz lands on average. While Vera may be the better offensive striker, this does come at a cost, as he absorbs almost twice the amount of strikes that Cruz does, absorbing 4.99 significant strikes per minute compared to the 2.56 that Dom absorbs. Chito's defense rate is also significantly lower, as he defends 50% of the strikes against him, which is actually not bad, but Cruz's defense is impeccable. He defends 71% of strikes against him. Now this is probably due to his amazing unorthodox footwork. A lot of fighters don't know how to deal with that style, which subsequently gives Cruz the upper hand. Fun fact, Cruz developed his footwork because back in the day there was no 135-pound division, so he had to compete against bigger guys at 145 and 155. In order to negate his opponent's size advantage, Cruz developed a style which involved this unique footwork, and that allowed him to avoid his opponent's offense and counter effectively. Now, moving on to power, there really isn't much to separate the two men. 7 of Chito's 19 victories have come via KO/TKO, and that includes 6 in 13 UFC wins, which is fantastic. Meanwhile, 7 of Cruz's 24 wins have come via knockout, but only 1 of his 7 UFC wins has ended in that fashion. Grappling. Moving on to grappling, where initially Cruz seems to have a big advantage. Dom lands 2.88 takedowns per 15 minutes, which is almost 1 every single round, while Chito only lands 0.73 per 15. Despite Cruz utilizing this tool more, the fighters have a pretty similar accuracy, with Cruz landing takedowns at a 43% accuracy compared to 42% for Vera, which is almost identical. When it comes to takedown defense, Cruz is also superior. He defends 83% of takedowns, while Vera defends 68% of them. Truth be told, the Ecuadorian does not mind going to the ground given his proficiency in BJJ. Vera actually attempts 1.1 submissions per 15 minutes, while Cruz has only attempted 1 submission in the UFC. In terms of completion, Vera is pretty successful. 8 of his 19 wins have come via sub, with 4 of them being in the UFC. His go-to is the rear naked choke, but he has also completed arm bars, triangle chokes, and a heel hook. Cruz only has 1 submission win, which came via rear naked choke 16 years ago. So it's clear to see that while Cruz has the better wrestling, Vera has the better jiu-jitsu. Prediction? Well, this fight is very tough to predict. On one hand, it is true that Vera has never faced anyone like Cruz in his career. Dom's footwork is impeccable and very hard to adapt to. On the other hand, Vera has knockout power, and his submission game might make Dom's takedown attempts useless and actually play to his advantage. If Chito is able to land a similar shot to the one that Munoz did in his fight with Cruz, then Dom is in for a tough night. Even though this is the highest caliber of opponent Chito has faced, he has shown that his power carries over to the UFC against tough competition. Vera doesn't have as much experience as Cruz does in 5-round fights, but in his last fight against Font, he showed that his cardio is at a good level. Cruz has to deal with a similar fighter that he has faced in his last 2 outings. Munoz and Kenny were both predominantly strikers, and that is precisely what Chito's primary method of attack is. Dom showed that even with some adversity, he could overcome it and go on to still get the victory. His striking style is unorthodox, and he still persists with wrestling offense even after being denied several times. We expect to see a striking battle, and the outcome is going to be a question of whether Cruz's footwork can negate Chito's style, which implements a lot of leg kicks. If Vera can be successful with these kicks, he can stifle Cruz's movement and gain the upper hand in the stand-up. Dom did show in his last fight against Munoz, though, that he can overcome a stand-up fight against a good kicker, which Munoz undoubtedly is. The bookmakers currently favor the younger Chito Vera, pitting him as a considerable -180 betting favorite, with veteran Dominick Cruz being a +155 underdog. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Who would you guys put your money on? Drop your fight predictions in the comments below and make sure to like and subscribe to never miss an Athlete Central video. Until next time.